Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. Welcome to Halloween. Trick or treat, smell my feet. Give me something like an energy drink. I hope you guys are having a good week. We made it through October. Black Friday is coming. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. All the Black Friday talk is about to start. I hope you guys had a wonderful week. I hope training is going good. Massive Iron Live is the longest running lifting podcast in the history of the universe. That's my claim. And if anybody disagrees, they can go suck an egg, right? Extra protein. Before I get into things, guys, I'm here to answer your questions. Don't feel like a question has been asked 1,000 times before. I'm here to help. So feel free to ask your questions. If your questions don't go through, try rewording them. Try shortening them. Sometimes YouTube might not like the words you're using. I don't know why things are lagging right now. I can see on the video my mouth is behind my words. I hope it's not lagging on video for you guys. Sometimes YouTube doesn't like the word choice. So if your posts aren't going through, your questions aren't going through, try rewording them. I'm getting a little bit of weird lag on my end today, so I hope the voice is aligning with the video. I don't know what's going on. That's never happened before. Before I get into things, I have added a topic of the day recently. As you guys can probably tell, the last 3 weeks, I have added a topic into live. Today, I will be talking about Dorian Yates and reps in reserve. Before I get to that, I just want to point out I do offer a custom workout building service. It's not cookie cutter. You can go over here and search custom in the search box that websites have. You can search custom. It's only $39. I build that completely off your equipment, your split preference, your goals. It takes me about an hour to build each one. And I keep that pretty low cost, only $39. So you can head over to here if you want a custom workout. Programming is what I love to do, one of my favorite things to do each week. I primarily do coaching, but that is something I typically do on Saturday and Sundays when I'm chatting with Team Massive. Let's see. Other than that, if you want coaching, I'm going to be doing the big year-end push from now until January 1st. You can head over to here and check out coaching. Coaching is what I do for a living. I am with my clients every single day, 5 days a week. I leave them alone on Saturday. We really get into things. We do adjustments on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're curious, if you've never had a coach, if you just have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. That is how I make my living. And I was the online coach of the year in 2023. Last year, I was in the top 4, runner-up, second, third place. I don't know. We'll see if I make it in there this year, but I am very, very dedicated to coaching, and I would love to help. How you guys doing? I got some weird thing on here. It says Halloween pack, 6 overlays and 9 backgrounds. I have some spooky things like, ooh, wow, that adds to the ambiance a little bit. Let's see, spooky frame with spooky eyeballs. Why do we have like a candy cane? What are the candy cane things? We have a severed hand and a bat and a severed finger, but why do we have Halloween candy canes? Let's see. We have a Halloween candy cane in green and orange. We have a bubbling witch's brew and some kind of a cocktail with eyeballs. I don't know. These are all very exciting stuff. Ooh, look at that. That's extremely exciting. Trick or treat, smell my feet. All right, let's get into things. I'm going to start with the topic of the day. Let me bring this up.
Fan of reps in reserve training.
We'll pause that. This is Dorian Yates. Just came across my feed. Somebody was in the gym with Dorian asking him about reps in reserve. I'm just going to let the video play, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So, ready, set, let's go.
I read online somewhere you're a big fan of reps in reserve training. Can you give us a bit of insight on that?
Yeah. Because I don't like.
What are your views on it?
I don't like it when like the muscle starts burning and I feel uncomfortable. I think that's not good for you.
No, you
should
want
put the weight down at that point. Yeah, because I mean, who wants to be uncomfortable? It can't be good for you, can it? No.
That clearly doesn't
Reps
work.
in reserved. We've got a different term for that in England. It's called a wanker's workout. It's a very technical, an English term. You can look it up if you like. My fans from America don't quite understand what a wanker is. It's people that do reps in reserve.
All right. So a lot of people are going to take this, over the edge, and get offended. But one of the reasons I found this, one of the reasons why I enjoyed this is because I made a short about this, and I posted this over on Instagram, and I'm not against reps in reserve or RPE or any of the modern tools. I just want to put that caveat out there so I don't starch anybody's shorts and get anybody upset. But I think, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, I think in the modern lifting landscape, there's such a focus on optimal. There's such a focus on maximizing. There's such a focus on theory, such a focus on science-based. But it got me thinking this week, how many times do you go on social media and just see somebody brutalizing things, just going after it, just using intuition, hard training, not overthinking? That we're not talking about reckless training, right? Dorian was very calculated. And we have to make sure we understand that brutality and aggression are not inherently reckless. Because sometimes it's like an either or switch. It's brutal and aggressive, and it must be reckless because of that. And like it can't somehow be calculated. But I think when I go on social media, I tend to notice that it's almost like a form of insecurity or a safety blanket. Everybody's got to talk about how this and that are optimal and how, they're maximizing this or that or angles or planes and all this kind of stuff. And that's all good and well, but you need to temper that and you need to balance that with a degree of passion and aggression and just picking up those big, juicy fruits your parents gave you and going after it a little bit, right? Because what you do in the gym, you can't optimize, you can't maximize without experimenting, without learning, without experience. You can't just become an optimal painter or an optimal musician without putting in a lot of time and learning your mistakes. And, we also just have the fact that so many things just feel so uninspired, maximizing things and trying to optimize things. Yes, evolving your training based on needs is very, very important. Evolving your training is what you want to do. That's part of the process of helping you become an advanced lifter. It's like with any sport or any craft or any physical endeavor, like ultra running. I just start out running down the path and then I learn some things. This shoe sucks. I need this for running. I need this. I need that. I need to do this. I need to pace myself walking up hills. You learn things. So you can start out trying to optimize all you want, but at some point, passion needs to be involved in the mix. And I'm just kind of glad to see some pushback because I don't want it to be all reckless, silly training. I mean, we can't all just go out and train like Dorian or Ronnie, right? It has to be balanced with sustainability. But at the end of the day, if I don't see some passion and brutality and just some form of aggression or going for it in your training, I know you have no hope. So let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment down below. That is it. That's the topic of the day. Good morning, Big Ernie P. Good morning, Rico. Good to have you. Big Ernie P, happy Halloween. I should have put on my Happa Hoppa Hobby Halloween costume, but I forgot. Big Joe B from Canada and Big Yvonne. Good to see all of you guys. Planning on watching any spooky movies tonight? Yeah, I think we're going to watch one. My wife is doing a fashion show tomorrow. She has some stuff in a fashion show, so she has a big day. We're probably not going to stay up late, but we're trying to debate what movie. I really like Sinister. She talked about maybe doing Oculus. We're going to kind of see whatever she feels like watching. Boo! Paul scared me a little bit. We'll give you the boo back, Paul. Trick or treat. Watch out for the scary skeletons. And watch out for those Halloween candy canes, right? Halloween candy canes. Boo. I don't know when we have Halloween candy canes. Elliot, good morning, Big Steve. What's the word? What are your top 3 horror flicks? Good question. So I don't think you can go wrong with the original Halloween movie. I really don't. For me, the question is, you have scary movies and then you have kind of Halloween movies. Does that make sense? So there are a lot of scary movies that don't necessarily feel like Halloween-y movies, like Saw. You know, it's scary, whatever. Some might argue it's more heart racing than it is scary or tense in a different way. I think the original Halloween movie embodies that. I've seen it so many times, though, that I don't have any interest in watching it. But I think it is definitely the Halloween. I'm saying Halloween movies rather than horror movies, because there are a lot of horror movies that I think are really good horror movies, like Aliens, the original Thing, movies like that are very tense, that are horror, that aren't necessarily Halloween-y. So the original Halloween movie has to be up there. Sinister, to me, is it a horror movie? Is it a Halloween-y movie? I don't know. Sinister is up there for me. Definitely up there in the top 5. I used to really, really like Babadook. And I have nothing against the movie. I think it's a really well-made movie. And let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment. But the more I watch it, the more I realize it feels less and less like a horror movie and more like the mind of somebody that's lost their mind. Does that make sense? So, yeah, I mean, I just can't watch it anymore because it's starting to feel less and less like a horror movie and more like that. And it's a good sign of a well-made movie, right? So Sinister, Halloween. What would I put as my third one? Like if I were going to watch only 3, what would I put as my third one? What would you guys put as your third one? Something Halloween-y. I don't know. That's a good question. There's a lot of good questions. Rico said Event Horizon. That's a very underrated horror, space horror movie. Definitely not a Halloween-y movie. I don't know. I'd have to think about my third place Halloween-y movie. Let me know what you guys think. Big Justin Jones, good morning and happy Halloween-y. Richard, good to see you, Richard. Share the story of the week, Halloween special. Okay. You want a funny one? I'll give you a couple of funny ones from when I was younger and more carefree and wild. I was more of a wilder child when I was younger. Not crazy, reckless, getting into trouble, but slightly less inhibited, right? Known to do some fun things. I enjoyed having fun parties, not anything crazy, not anything abusive, but I definitely did some fun things over the years. Let's see. Let's talk about I remember when I was maybe 21, 22, I went to a Halloween party in Madison, Wisconsin at some of my friends' place. They were musicians, and um, I needed a costume. So back then I weighed, I don't know, 178, 180, whatever it was, 190, whatever. I got the largest kids Spider-Man costume. You know, the old Spider-Man costumes with the mask and you slide them on. Well, I got the large and it barely fit, but it fit, right? So I'm walking around, with this Spider-Man costume from head to toe. It's pretty snugly, right? It's pretty snug. And then I realized something very, very important. I was at a party and we were drinking a lot of beer and I had no way to pee and I couldn't continue to take the costume up and down because it was impossible. So I went into the kitchen and cut a hole where I would have to urinate. I still had underwear on. Don't panic. That's a true story. But I cut a hole and then I realized the hole wasn't big enough, so I cut it bigger. So I walked around the entire night at the party, and when you cut a hole in like a really tight costume like that, stuff's gonna try to push out, right? You know what I'm saying, without being too crude. So that's one of my Halloween stories. Another one is I don't know, in this day and age, it might sound really bizarre, but we were going to a Halloween party at somebody's place, and back then I was single and I didn't have any Halloween costume. So the woman next to me said, "Hey, I have a black, small little mini skirt." And in the middle, this was after I got out of the military. I was weighing like 180 and it fit. And she gave me like a tube top or whatever. And she did my hair, put on makeup. So I dressed like a woman for Halloween. Don't judge. It was Halloween. It was the 90s. Anyway, being the wacky weirdo I was, didn't wear any underwear. I didn't wear any underwear under the costume. So I don't know, I don't remember what I was thinking. I wasn't like, my stuff was overtly hanging out, but I just remember a couple of times someone got a glimpse of the big, hairy, ugly dude. All right, that's enough for the stories of the week. Those are true stories. Any recommendation for training while having tendonitis in the chest? Richard, I've never heard of anybody having tendonitis in the chest. So that is a new one for me. I've never seen anybody have it before, my friend. The only thing I can say is we really need to look at exercises that are bothering them and remove them or deload them, and potentially consider using a bench press slingshot device to provide some support. That's where I would start because this is new territory for me. Big Tony. Happy Friday, Big Hairy Ugly Dude and Team Massive. Can you share the story behind the Iron Sheik photo that you recently shared on Discord? I don't know, man. Just a random photo. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I have it here on my computer. I might have just copied and pasted it. The only real reason I posted a picture of the Iron Sheik. The only real reason I posted it was because I got a swinging club to help kind of with my shoulder girdle strength from Kensui, Kensui. I have no affiliation with them. And I just remember the Iron Sheik used to do the swinging club thing. I do remember his physique used to be super, super, thick. And that has nothing to do with it, but man, I just remember he used to be very proficient at those heavy clubs, and that's what got me thinking about it, to be honest. The woke finder, got to respect Dorian. You have to respect Dorian. All right, guys, we're about 21 minutes in. I'm going to stay on as long as we have questions. We have about 30 in the queue right now, so keep them coming. I prefer Dorian to Ronnie. Dorian is one of the few people I haven't gotten to meet. I've gotten to train with Ronnie. You know, I don't know. I think they're both good for bodybuilding. You know, I think they were both good for bodybuilding. I think, you know, different types of personalities, but definitely hardcore in their own right. Dorian had a better midsection, and Ronnie's was out of control at points. Not sure what you mean there. Gluten Morgan, Stephen T. Massive. Greetings from Germany. I say gluten facetiously. Why wouldn't I? It is 2025. All of our gluten intolerance. Ronnie's gyno was out of control. Okay, that makes better sense. Shelly, how you doing, Shelly? Good to have you tuning in. Mark, what? I don't know what you mean, Mark, but thanks for tuning in. Big fan. Thanks, Mark. Big fan from the Philippines. Oh, okay, here we go. What's Coach Big Hairy Ugly Dude's complete supplement stack? Monster, creatine, taurine, beta-alanine, vitamin D, generally sometimes ashwagandha, B12. Those are really it for me. I think that's about it. What are you guys taking right now? Other than Trenbolone sandwiches. Peter, Trenbolone sandwiches. What are you, when you are doing 6 sets of body part, doubt you are going to be an advocate of RIR. I don't know. In this landscape, you just never know. You just never know what anybody is doing, but I absolutely hear what you say. One of the things, you know, that we need to talk about when it comes to more minimal type of training is if you're going to push to just one let's say you were just going to push to maybe one maximal set on the bench, and then you were going to do maybe a back down set. This might be something I would do. Something I have done. So if you are going to maximize the first set on a compound, what are you going to have to do? Think about this. You are going to have to do a reasonable number of warm-up sets to make sure when you get to that first set that you can truly maximize it without it feeling inherently dangerous. You have to have that mental and physical confidence that, okay, on the next set, I feel prepared to maximize that set. Now, this is going to be different for every compound movement, right? I might not need to do as many warm-up sets to feel like I can maximize the first set of a T-bar row. On the bench press, I'm going to need to do a lot more sets. On the overhead, I'm going to need to do a lot more warm-up sets. Deadlifts, a lot more warm-up sets. Squats, a lot more warm-up sets. So the point here is that even with the minimalists, you know, that are doing fewer working sets, they are still doing a solid amount of an appropriate number of ramping warm-up sets, even if they are doing more minimal working sets. So if I were to get in and do a maximum Dorian style of bench press, where I worked up to 315 for maximum reps, I would do bar 2 sets by 10. This is exactly what I would do. I'm not telling you what you would have to do. I'm telling you what I would do. 2 sets of 10 with the bar, 135 by 6, 185 or usually 185 by 4 to 5, 225 by 4 to 5, 275 by 4 to 5, and then I would let it rip with 315. So I would do quite a number of ramping warm-up sets. If you don't, your central nervous system is not going to be primed, as Paul is saying in the comments, and you're just going to encourage injury, an amplification of possible injury. if I do a lot of, like, let's say I did that on bench press where I worked up to 315 for max safe reps and then possibly did a back down set of 275 or whatever. If I moved on to heavy dumbbell bench afterwards, I'm still going to do some feeler sets to make sure that my body is ready for the demands of that exercise. I'm not just going to say, hey, I'm warmed up from bench. I'm going to go jump over to 150-pound dumbbell benches, right? Because that's what I used to do. I would do 50s and then I would do 100s. When you are doing a lot of heavy weight, even if it's a similar movement pattern, there is benefit from making sure your body feels okay with that movement pattern. A bench and a dumbbell bench is not the same thing. It feels different. In many cases, when you are relatively weaker on the scale, no insult meant, you might be able to move from 135-pound dumbbell bench, feel warm, and then be able to jump over to 40-pound dumbbell, 135-pound barbell bench, and move to 40-pound dumbbell bench without issue. I still probably would recommend 20 to 25 for 5 to 6 reps, just to get the feel, to make sure everything feels okay for the connective tissue. How many times have you jumped on an exercise and something felt a little bit off in the shoulder connective tissue or something, and you're like, wow, it felt good on the last exercise. Why does it feel strange on this exercise? So even minimal type of training is going to involve a reasonable number of warm-up sets. And that's one thing, Dorian just didn't go in and do, like 405-pound Yates rows. I believe, I don't even know the structure, but I believe it was probably like 200 or 275 or 315 or even 365 for sets of 10, ramping up into one big mega set. So still, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was doing a lot of volume on his warm-up sets. Big Paul. This is my backup today. I went over to Ollie's and they had like a billion of these for a couple, $2-3. If you do 3x10, are you implementing reps in reserve without overthinking it? Well, I mean, anytime you're not pushing a set to the limit, it's going to have some RIR, which you could analyze and quantify if you wanted to, but what's the point? I made a video the other day saying you don't have to take every set to failure, that the overall pressure and stress you're putting on your body as you're progressing matters as well. So yeah, you're implementing RIR without overthinking it. And when you implement RIR, the question is, why am I trying to be so specific, when it's not required? If you like it, go for it. But I would ask you, why are you trying to be so specific with it? Absolutely, Paul. Big Justin Jones. I know you teach to not push for progress during the cut. That's not what I teach. And save the hard training for a bulk. I'll explain. So during the cut, as we start losing pressing strength, do we just let the reps? What else can you do? Now, what I teach is a little bit more nuanced. What I teach is stealing reps when they make sense. So during a cut, like, you don't want to do big 2 RIR deadlifts or squats. You don't want to be taking deadlifts and squats to the limit. If you are in a cut and you have 9 reps on dumbbell bench and you can get 10, take it. Take the easy fight. But we also have to be nuanced here, okay? Because we're not making rules. The point is to treat yourself okay, to be reasonable when you're on a cut so you don't beat up your body. The point of a cut is to get the cut over with, not to tear up your body. So, on a bench, on a cut, your pressing strength is going to struggle. You have to let the reps drop. What else are you going to do? You can do grinders on pressing on a cut as long as they feel okay. I'm not telling you not to do grinders. I'm telling you to use common sense. I mean, I'm on a cut and I'm taking things right to the limit, where the speed slows on a rep. I did that this week on bench. So it's very, very nuanced. But what I'm saying is you don't want to push yourself into the danger zone. The danger zone is going to be very exercise specific. It's more about preventing injuries, and that is very nuanced exercise to exercise. Excuse me. Michael, just get in, use good form and reasonable exercise, push very hard, eat enough to gain, and sleep well. Why does everything need to be so complicated? I don't know. It's like a security blanket. It's like a banky wanky, like a binky winky. Mommy, I got my favorite stuffed animal. Can we go to the zoo today? Right. Right. That's what it feels like a little bit. Get over it. You're not going to build muscle unless you, at some point, gird up those big, juicy grapefruits and get after it. Not recklessly. All the overthinking in the world isn't going to save you, but passion and a little bit of brutality will. Good morning, big, hairy, ugly dude. Can you recommend a strength standard for dumbbell RDLs? Let's be real. Most gyms don't have above 100s. I've been in commercial gyms. I've been in gyms, not commercial gyms, with 150s. And I used to attend a gym that had 200s. I called those they called those the Ronnie Coleman dumbbells because he signed them in the gym when I trained with him in that gym. So, generally, we have to be careful about over strengthening our RDLs. Let me explain. I want you guys, sometimes we chase reps so much on the RDL that we do so at the expense of our lower back. Okay. So we have to be really, really careful about that. Let the reps come. I'm not telling you to be weak on the RDL. I have a video where I did 635, 645 RDL. It's on my channel. You can search for it. Just search RDL. But be careful. Let the reps come to you. You get to 100s for multiple sets of 8. You're doing good. 150s for a couple sets of 8 would be elite. And really beyond that, we really don't have any dumbbells to mess with. I've done them with 200s. I think I did a set of 200s by 8. But honestly, when you get to that strength level, deadlifting the dumbbells off the ground and getting them off the rack is harder than the dumbbell RDL set. It sounds silly, but it's true. If you ain't making faces in the gym, you ain't making gains. That is the truth. If you look like you're walking through the fairy forest with the little fairies and gnomes and sparkly little bugs flying through the air like some fictional scene from the movie Avatar, and you're throwing flowers in the air and picking daisies and sniffing all the good scents. If you look like you're not training hard, you're probably not. Big Paul, Nightmare on Elm Street, my favorite, but seems more funny than anything compared to today's movies. Whenever me and my wife sit down each year and we talk about what movies we're going to watch, she always brings that one up. And it's just a little bit goofy. It's cheesy. It's 80s cheese, whatever year it came out. Somebody let me know. I don't know. I never got into those movies, so don't hate me. Dorian, fire. It's been a while since I watched Gremlins or the original Ghostbuster. Rico said Trick or Treat is good. My wife mentioned that one the other day. That's actually, I think, a little bit on the underrated side. Michael, I'm a little hesitant to reduce weight when I want to make a lift feel good in my joints. I'll get more reps and less weight, and the stimulus will be the same. Why does it still make me nervous? When you get into the lane, when you mean reducing the weight makes you nervous, I don't know. I feel the same way. Like, I picked up a few strains in my shoulders initially when I got into jiu-jitsu. They're better now. I've been benching okay the last 3 weeks. Just a new movement pattern. So I picked up some shoulder stress. So in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, I probably need to go lighter for a month. Maybe go back to 225 for 5 sets of 10 on volume to let things heal a little bit. But I get a little bit nervous about it because in my brain, I know it doesn't take much to maintain muscle mass. But in my brain, I also have this fear of going weak. It doesn't feel right. So there's this balancing point between taking care of ourselves and, sometimes we have to take care of ourselves and this push to just go hard. The Amityville Horror scared the crap out of me when I was 10. Yeah, you and me both, man. Me and Paul are both old school, and that's one of the ones that hit hard back in the day, all the flies and the things. Original Halloween 1, best Halloween movie, hands down. I'll fight anyone over that. Name, just atmospheric, creepy. It still holds up pretty well. When we're talking horror or space horror, like the original, not the original thing, 1981, John Carpenter's thing. Love the movie, love the vibe, love the characters. Sometimes the special effects fall apart a little bit, but I guess that's all part of the allure. Adonis. What's a good progression indicator for pyramid sets and how would you program them? So you can pyramid up, you can pyramid down. When you're pyramiding up, when you're pyramiding down, you have to start with a certain weight jump. Okay? Weight jump up, steps down. I like to start with 10% jumps up, 10% jumps down. Roughly. Okay? So let's say I was doing a pyramid up in bench to 315. I might do 285, 255, 285, 315. Roughly 10%. Are you following me? 255, 285, 315. From there, we would have to, if you're ramping up and you want to add weight, we would have to set progression indicators for each one based on feels. So maybe with the 255, when I get to 12, I'm going to move up to 260. At the 285, maybe when I get to 10, I'll move that up to 290. And with the top set of 315, maybe when I get to 8. So you could do 12, 10, 8. So you have to have a starting point. Weight, generally 10% jumps is a good place to start. 160, 180, 200. And then you could maybe do 12, 10, 8, or 12, 9, 6, or whatever you want. And it would all start to evolve down that path. Does that make sense? You're going to have a starter workout. And you're going to have to start adjusting regardless of your rep target. So use rep targets that work for you. They're probably not going to work well during the first workout or two because you're zeroing in, but that's okay. Pyramiding down, going back down the pyramid, generally 10%. That's what I do with the threes protocol. You can go over to the main page of YouTube and search progression, and you will find the threes protocol among many other progression approaches. And I would work down generally 10%, 315, 285, 255. Now, you could have a progression indicator for each, or you could just move each up in weight when that top set moves up. Either way is fine. So let me know if that makes sense. Did you invent skull destroyers after watching a horror flick? Wow. Skull destroyers, anybody that is familiar with them, basically you get an easy bar with a lot of heavy ass weight resistance. And you do 2 or 3, you're going to get to 30 total. Initially it was 40. 40 is just crazy. You can do 40. It's 30 now for me. But you can do reps of 2 or 3 until you get to 30. You can do rest pause. So you do 2 to 3 reps of skull crushers. Okay. And then you move down and do 2 to 3 reps of deliberate close grip bench. And then you rotate back and forth skulls until you get to 30 total. Now, if you get fatigued, right, you can hold the bar on your chest for a couple, 2-3 seconds before knocking out reps or before doing more skulls. That's okay. The point is to be brutal, to get to 30 and survive. Generally, we do 2 sets of those. Some people will say, hey, big, hairy, ugly dude, the close grips feel a little bit easier than the skull crushers. Yes. It's all cumulative stress and fatigue. It's making those skulls harder. So that's okay. We're looking at the overall impact of the skull destroyer set rather than worrying about the fact that maybe the close grip benches feel a little bit easier than the skull crushers. Big Paul, I love the slingshot. It's one of the necessities. I just used it this week. I use it a lot when I pick up any sort of a shoulder issue and I'm trying to recover. Big Metal Maniac from Maine, I assume. Stephen King land, yes. I proudly identify as an ego lifter. Thanks again for introducing the ballista slingshot. Michael's being facetious because on social media, and I actually made a reel about this, some rando came on his Instagram telling him he shouldn't use a slingshot on a machine chest press. Like, thank you for your input. Now move along and go bother somebody else on the internet. Ernie said the Iron Sheiks clubs were 80. That seems about right. I mean, I don't know much about that, but I do know they look heavy as heck. I'm doing one club right now, so I'll start with the left hand under the right, and I'll swing it up like this, swing it up like this. And then after I do 15 reps, I'll do the opposite like this. So I started with, that's what I'm starting with. I only put 5 pounds on my club, so I'm just kind of getting the feel for things. Big Paul, the answer is ramping sets. They ramp up the nervous system while keeping you safe. Absolutely a wonderful way to train. Big Michael from Germany. We go from New Mexico to Germany. His current supplements: creatine, multivitamin, vitamin D, magnesium, melatonin, fish oil, MACA, potassium, 5-HTP, glucosamine, chondroitin, plus MSM and whey. Sounds like a solid grouping of choices. The only thing I'm looking in there, B12. That would probably be the only thing I would say to consider adding to the mix. All righty. Big Tom did 14 320-pound deadlift singles on 45-second intervals in 9 minutes and 45 seconds. Tested 1 rep max 3 weeks ago. Did singles at 330, 335, 340. Doing a USPA meet on November 16th. You did a lot of singles. Wait, what? 14. So generally, I would say if you can do 14 singles in 10 minutes, it's probably 70 to 75% of your 1 rep max. Let me bring out the old 1 rep max calculator, and we'll put this up on the screen so we can figure this out together. Okay? Present, share. This is a rough starting point. And if you need more help, let me know. So Whoopsie-doo. My Windows jumping all over the place. Sorry about that. So you did, let's see, 14 at 320. 320, let's see, 320 by 10. That's roughly, let's see, 320 by 14. 320, probably roughly, I don't know, 70, maybe 405 to 420. 405 to 420. You know, you're safe doing 375 as your first attempt. If you couldn't do that, it would be a miracle. And from there, 395 would probably be a good, safe second attempt if you want to go a little bit more conservative to feel it. And then the third attempt would be based on that. Let me know if you have any questions, because if you can do 14 singles at 320, I would probably, you'd be easily able to handle 375. From there, 390 to 395, you could be as high as 420. If someone orders a custom training program, will you by request modify someone's current program if it has most of the big compounds? If somebody gave me their program and wanted me to redo it, absolutely. The only thing I don't do is if somebody says, hey, I want to do this program, is this program okay? Like, you know, well, here's what I mean. Either you want me to build a program or you don't. If you have parameters and you have a structure and you have exercise, of course I'm going to build it off that. Absolutely. I want you to enjoy your program. But occasionally someone will come to me for coaching or come to me and say, I like this program and I want to use this program. Can I run this program? And sometimes it has major deficiencies. And if a program has major deficiencies, and it takes a lot for something to be a major deficiency in a program, like doing a lot of biceps work before you do your back work or any number of things like that, maybe doing deadlifts and squats back-to-back on back-to-back days. If a program has a major deficiency, I'm going to correct that. So there are some people that don't want that corrected. As a coach, there are some things I can't put my blessing on in good faith, right? Things I wouldn't encourage you to do because I don't want you to get injured. There's very few things you must do and very few things you can't do. But when I see one of those you probably shouldn't be doing, I'm going to tell you probably shouldn't be doing that. And if somebody's not opening to listening to that, they are what I would call uncoachable. And if you want to put yourself in the danger zone with lifting, go right ahead. If you want to do 20 sets of biceps before you do your back work, go right ahead. I just want no part of the potential car wreck. Does that make sense? So yeah, absolutely. If you have a plan you like I ask people what split you like, what exercise, any exercise you don't like to do. And in some cases, they'll send me their program and say, could you rework this? And like, here's my 74 Pinto, right? It doesn't run. I want you to put an engine and transmission in and make it a race car. Absolutely. That's what we're going to do. And once I do that, people can message me or email me, say, hey, I like this, don't like this, et cetera, and we will work it out together. Big Joe B from Canada. I currently take D3, magnesium, and creatine. Can you explain your bulldozer method? The basic starting point, and this is not everything has to be like this. The basic starting point is you do 5 mini sets. Okay? 5 mini sets. And let me see if I have the slide or PDF. Hold on. I want to see if I have this available as a graphic because I have so many graphics of these things on my computer. Let's see. Bulldozer, bulldozery, bulldozer, and all kinds of bulldozers, 4,000 PDFs right now. That's a man that does a lot of custom workouts. You do 5 mini sets. Basically, starting point is resting 15 to 20 seconds in between sets. Let's say on bench, you're doing 225. You do 225 for max safe reps. Rack, rest 15 to 20 seconds after you unrack, re-rack, and then press again. So you push for maximum safe quality reps. How many reps you do on the mini set, after the first set doesn't matter. It's just extra stress, just good quality reps. The first set, when you get to 12, 13, 14, 15, depending on the exercise, that is when you would move up in weight the next time. Big Rico, I need some massive iron flags for the gym. Are they going on sale for Black Friday? Let me post something up real quick for you people. This is my website. Now, I want you to understand when it comes to flags and when it comes to, gosh darn it, when it comes to flags and when it comes to T-shirts, I really don't mark them up much to begin with. Generally, I only mark them up enough to cover the costs if somebody doesn't get one. Like if somebody doesn't get their T-shirt, it's not delivered, I'll send something out for free. My website is superlivingtoday.com. If you go over there and you search flag, see, you put that in the search box, magic things happen. So I have flags. The massive, this is the massive Joe flag. Boom, pretty sharp. Big and strong as humanly possible. And what else do we got? This is the one I have in my gym. Just a standard massive iron flag. Nothing fancy schmancy. This is the more motorcycle-y flag, born to lift, get big, get strong. Pretty cool looking flag. And this is the massive VIP white flag. Pretty cool looking. So I can put those down. I got those at $34.99. I'd have to check my cost because the biggest thing right now, usually during Black Friday, I put T-shirts down to cost and flags down to cost. I think this Black Friday, I'll put a lot of that stuff down to cost. I'm not looking at making money. I'm just an honor. I love seeing these flags in the home gyms. I have 2 of them up right now in my home gym. And I have a bunch of other stuff over here. If you go to the apparel, I just have a ton of stuff. I'll put these, I'll put these up at cost as much as I can. This is the classic massive iron shirt. It's at $14.99. I think cost is like $11.99. One of my Crom shirts. This one's a popular one as well. It comes in different colors, schnazzy colors for the discerning fashion in diva inside of you. The massive VIP shirt. The spooky. We got the massive 316. I'll look at a couple of these real quick. The massive hammer, like the Arm & Hammer ripoff. Fun little shirt. Massive iron. Yep. All you naughty people know what this one is. All right. I got some goofy ones over there, like the Turkesterone shirt. Just some, here's the Akadaka ripoff, kind of massive iron. This is one of my favorite ones. Instead of progressive overload, it's regressive underload. I don't know why. Here's buy my freaking cookbook. Buy my freaking cookbook. And of course, it comes in different styles. I'll put all this stuff up. Oh, that's the regressive underload. I'll put all this stuff up. You know, for I got the Breaking Bad one. I got the Massive TV, which looks like MTV. The Massive Iron, which looks like Budweiser. I got tons of apparel, mostly for fun. I'm not an apparel company, but let's see if we go to the last page. Phone covers. I made that one for my wife. Dear Abs, I'm busy massing. That was one I made recently. Dear Abs, I'm busy massing. And what else have I made recently? Yoke. Yoke. Why do I have yold? I think I need to check that. Tank tops. A couple more. This one I made just because somebody put this up. Put something up like this. Do you even lift? Massive ahoy. And hold on, a couple more. I'll show you a couple more. Don't go anywhere, just for fun. You got your Massive Iron t-shirt, Massive Iron hats. For those of you, hello YouTube. Okay, hold on. I want to find the ramen one. I want to find the old ramen noodle. This is a funny one. I like this one. 75% natty. Why not, right? Just a joke, you know, for meathead. Where's the ramen one? That's one of my favorites. Where's the Massive Ramen? There we go. I don't know why I like this one. Massive Ramen, bulking, not bulking, free protein drink. And of course, you have fun colors. All right, enough about that. Big Paul. I think the number one reason people fail is not training for 5+ years. You see a lot of people. I assume you mean like not training consistently for a long period of time, or taking breaks. You see a lot of people take breaks, even if it's micro breaks like program hopping or not staying consistent with their nutrition or training. If you have a 5-pack with some oblique definition and very clear chest arm definition, yeah, absolutely. You're ready to bulk when you're ready to bulk. That's all personal. You know, as long as you're not unhealthy, you know, you sound like you're in a good place. Big Jeffrey, how's it going? RIR training is certainly overhated. It definitely is overhated, but yeah, if you want to use it, use it. You're still going to have to push some sets hard. So, Big Joe B, if someone is lean bulking and they on some days do extra cardio, should you add more calories? My rule, and this is not a hard and fast rule, it's a general rule. If you do an hour of cardio a day, you can add in 200 more calories. Hiking, walking, swimming, you could probably add in a couple hundred extra calories. You could add in a little bit more, but that's probably the baseline I would add. 200, 300, maybe 400, but somewhere in that range. That's generally what I advocate as a starting point. Hit that thumbs up, Woodulus from Scotland. Hit that thumbs up and add 5 pounds to your bench. Salem's Lot. I haven't seen that in a while. I haven't seen Salem's Lot in a while. The original Omen was terrifying. There was a remake this past year with a younger couple in an apartment. It wasn't not a remake, like a indirect sequel or something. It was all right. What muscle groups do you believe most benefit from trap bar deadlifts if you use the elevated and lower handles? Trap, upper back, to a minor degree quads, erectors, lower back, things in that chain. If you're going to use the more elevated handles, you're shifting some of the stress from the lower back to the quads a little bit more. Big Scotty MC, excuse me. Big fella, I had a Halloween workout this morning, getting the pump on for my Bane costume. That sounds like a good plan. Hold on one second. I think I swallowed a dog here. We're going deep on these questions. Been a minute since I've been in these Friday streams. Good to have you guys here. I got about 6 questions left, so I'm just giving you guys a heads up. If you have any more questions, get them in now. I like to give you guys a heads up before the last call. Do you have, thanks for the donation, Sam, a shoulder warm-up routine? Generally, I don't, but lately I'm diving into things a little bit, and I want to preference things by saying I'm not an expert. What I've been doing is the Cuban press, band pull-aparts, and some club swings. Okay? That's what I've been doing. Why did I just do these 3 and nothing more elaborate? Because I have not done shoulder warm-ups or rotator cuff prehab, rehab, anything in my entire 40-year lifting career. Yes, I've been lifting 40 years. And I don't want to add too much. I think it's wise to ease into things. So I started doing band pull-aparts 3 days a week. And then I started doing Cuban presses with the rotations. And now I'm into the club swing. So I'm going to stick with that for about a month and just see how those go. And then I'll kind of go from there. Have you ever failed a bench rep in a public gym without a spotter? The first bench set I ever did. Yes, once. The first bench set I ever did. And this is a story I've told many, many times. I put 95 pounds on the bench back in New Mexico Tech. My first workout, I walked into the gym, put 95 pounds on the bench. I can do this. Rep 4, I failed. I don't remember who ran over. Somebody ran over, but they saved me. I didn't die. Very humbling experience. I remember leaving the gym immediately. Embarrassed, whatever I was. It was 40 years ago. Almost to this day, probably. It was in October. And I came back and just started focusing on slowly trying to safely beat things. So yeah, that was the first and only time I remember without a spotter. I am very vigilant about asking for a spotter. You know, if I am going to do a heavy set in the gym, I will wait for somebody and I will eyeball somebody. I'll wait for them to be at a good time in their workout, and I'll say, "Excuse me, kind sir, may I have a spot?" Big Justin Jones, just finished my 3s protocol, seated shoulder press, lost 1 rep, but gained 2 reps. Good. That's pretty good for a cut. Not good that you lost a rep, but you did gain some reps on the back downs. Correction, regained those 2 reps I lost 2 weeks ago. Good. That's even a bigger bonus. Big Tom Hill. I saw Night of the Living Dead at a drive-in near Pittsburgh in October. It was the world premiere. I was 13. I would be curious back then how scandalous these movies were considered, you know, by certain, you know, just by society. Because right now we're kind of, you know, used to everything, right? We're used to everything. Big Paul, is the long head of the tricepticons the side that touches your lats or the outside? Let me pull up the triceps anatomy so we can have an intelligent discussion. Triceps anatomy muscles. Let's see if I can get a good trapezoid, deltozoid. Okay, this looks reasonable. Copy image address. I'm a visual guy, and I know a lot of you Wouldn't mind having a visual. And this is a pretty good visual. Hold on. We're going to pull it up. Present, share screen. All right. You have the trapezius, the deltoid, the rear deltoid, teres minor, teres major, and you have the long head and then the short head. So, and long head is, let's see, lateral head, long head, and latissimus dorsi, triceps medial head. So yeah, there you have it. The inside, if you're looking at the back, the big meaty part. Am I able to upload an image here? Hold on. Beep bop boop. Let's see if I can upload an image. Whoops. Oh, that's a fake one I put up, an AI that I made for Team Massive. Hold on. I'm trying to find. Let's see, fakey wakey. I have a subscription to Midjourney, and sometimes I take these. And so facing you would be the short head, and away, closer to the body, would be the long head. Big Aaron, any advice? Hold on, let me get this image out of my studio for hip pain during squats. Good question. You know, I don't have horrible hip mobility, but like when I get in and out of the car, I notice a little bit of something in the hips. Going, what you doing? Right? What are you up to, you old fool? It doesn't bother me on lifting, on squats. I'm not a mobility guy. But I would definitely look into hip mobility work, some simple exercises. The biggest thing I recommend for people is don't just jump into like some elaborate thing. Add a couple, 2-3 exercises weekly. I wish, Aaron, I had some advice. I've never done hip mobility work. I probably should be doing it. So maybe we can kind of figure this out together. All right, guys, that is it. We are done. I'm going to wait around for a couple of seconds before we go. If you would like a custom workout, head over here and click custom. It is only $39. If you're interested in coaching, if you're frustrated and you want to get on track, coaching is only $89.40 after the first month. Just head over here, click the coaching tab. It looks like we are done for the day. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm here every Friday. Come back next Friday. Whoops. Do you have any costumes for the sausages? No, I do not. The problem with my dogs is that whenever you try to put a costume on them, they proceed within 1.2 seconds to try to rip them off. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.
It's not almost over. It's not almost over. You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.
All right, what should we do for the after party today? How about the old lateral raise? Whoops.
Good.
Sure. Okay, so the lateral raise is something you see, like when I see Dr. Mike do a lateral raise, he's like stiff. His torso straight up and down. He like flaps like a bird, right? Not digging on Dr. Mike. I just think when you do the lateral raise like that, you are kind of taking away some of the good. I think you're putting more negative stress on the shoulders because you're not putting yourself in a good brace position. I like to lean forward just a hair. Okay, lean forward just a hair. Take a big breath, brace the core, and then think about driving the elbows up. And when the weight is at the side of my body, I want it just a couple inches in front of the shoulders to the side. So I lean forward, big breath, brace the core, think about driving my elbows and my hands up with the weight just a little bit in front of the shoulders to the side. Just like this. As you can see, big breath, brace, elbows up, big breath, brace, elbows up. It's not in front of me. It's hard to tell, but it's just a little bit in front of the shoulders. Leaning slightly forward just puts me in a little bit better leverage position. Not cheating, but it takes some of that negative stress off the shoulders. I used to do this sometimes as kind of a superset, just a pumpy, wumpy side lateral thing, a little bit of fun. And let's do one more after party video here just for fun. We'll see if we can find something different that I don't normally show. Let's see what we got here. I have literally about 1,000 videos sitting on my pewter. How about we, since we're talking about laterals, whoops, I got to make sure I mute this so it has no music. This is the bulldozer lateral. Now, why did I create a bulldozer lateral? Is it cheating, etc.? The regular lateral has a limited progression opportunity. It doesn't make it a bad exercise. So what I found is if I start with the weight on the opposite side, on the opposite leg, and I start it in a locked position, it gives me a little bit of a swing from the start, but it also allows me to progress and still hammer my side delts pretty hard. So up, catch, stop the momentum, drive up from that position. I'm not just swinging, right? This is the bulldozer lateral. And I find because you're starting in the offhand, you can get a little bit of momentum, but you can really overload this lift. I really like this lift as a choice. So that is the bulldozer lateral. All right, guys, I'm out of here.